Not sure if we're live. I think we might be live. Pretty sure we're live. Are we live, Chris? What do you think? Can you see me there?
Not yet. Okay, yes, now.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, we are live. It is Thursday morning, and this is our The Spirit World Sees All show. Does it, though? Does it really? Do you think it does? How many times have you heard me say that? Yes, I do believe that the Spirit World does see all. I was talking to a couple this week about how much their son could see. And it was amazing how much he could see, and it was amazing how much he could tell them. And one of the questions his mother said was, "Can you ask him if he's always going to be able to see me?" And he and I, the boy and I, laughed. Yeah, he's always going to see because he's always going to be around. Let's go back. Sorry, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Yes, this is our Thursday morning show. A very warm welcome to you all. And first of all, I'd like to say good morning to my spirit guide, Gregel, who, as many of you know, is always standing to my right side. Just put his hand on my shoulder as I'm talking to you. Cachorro is in the corner. For those of you who've been asking, yes, he's eating a little bit better, and so he's doing okay. He's doing okay. And this morning we actually don't have Michelle because Michelle is off doing other things. So we have my friend Chris who's helping us out. Say good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
And Chris is remote. She's on remotely. Chris is in Vermont. She is going to be scrolling through all of your questions and repeating them to me. What she will not be doing this morning is she won't be answering any of your inquiries because she won't. But she will relay the questions to me. She will be going all the way through those questions. My back is out this morning. If you have any questions, inquiries that I don't answer today, please email me, rosemary@rosemaryantea.com, and we'll do our very, 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 very best to accommodate. I'm just going to move this a little bit. There you go. And so we're going to, if you want to ask questions, go into, I think it's the bottom right hand corner, and you'll see the little word chat, and you can click into the chat room, and you can and Chris will scroll up and down, and she will be relaying all of your comments and questions to me. Let's just see how Chris is doing, because this is the first time you've done this, right, Chris? So how's it going? Can you actually see what you're doing?
I can see you, Rosemary, and you've got a couple of people already in the live chat saying good morning.
Good. And can you hear it okay and see okay and so on?
Yeah, and you're perfectly centered.
Really? Well, look, see, this is amazing. We'll have to have you back, Chris. We'll have to have you do this again. Nobody ever tells me whether I'm centered or not. So, all right. So, let me just, first of all, talk to you a little bit about what is going on in the world. I know that many of you have questions, and many of you are wondering what on earth is going on in this United States of America. It would seem, and I'm not going to be politically affiliated to any party. This is purely my own thoughts, and I know that some of you are going to be asking these questions, so I'd like to address this right off the bat before we go any further, and let's then hope that we have lots of other things we can talk about. Yes, a terrible, terrible thing happened. I know that many of you around the world have seen the videos. I know that I don't know too much about it, but I know that the police officers who were involved I do believe, were they fired, Chris? I think they were fired, weren't they? And there's an investigation now going on. All right, so Of course, when any injustice occurs, and I mean any injustice, of course we should be up in arms about it and we should speak out. I've always been a great advocate of not sitting back and saying nothing. If you see an injustice going on, you should speak out about it. However, we know that there are ways to speak out and we know that there are ways not to speak out. So I applaud all of you out there who are doing your very best to demonstrate peacefully your distaste and your disgust for what has happened. Injustice of any kind, we should stand up to it. We should stand up to the bullies. We should stand up to those who want to push and who want to put their point of view above and beyond anybody else's. Yes, we absolutely should. Which means, if we take a really good look at what is happening, all of those out there who are bullies, who are criminals, many of them, going out, destroying property, destroying people's lives, destroying property of people who have nothing to do with what happened. You know, this is what happened in Germany. This is what happened when the Jews were trying to be suppressed. This is what happened in England at the time of the miners and the miners' strikes and the riots that went on. This is something that is not new by any means. People keep saying, oh, this is, look at America now, look at it, it's new, it's new. No, it isn't. Take a good look at how the unions used to be all of those years ago. It does not matter whether it's new or old or whatever it is. What matters is that now, because of the one injustice, how many other injustices are being perpetrated upon the people in the name of what? What is that? Demonstration in the name of wanting to speak up? We all know that the bullies are out there. We all know what they are trying to do. We all know that we see these dreadful tactics of intimidation. My heart goes out to all of those who have suffered injustice of any kind, not just this one time. What can we do about it? We can do what I'm doing now. We can stand up and we can say no to the bullies. We can say no to those people who willfully go into other people's property and destroy and maim and murder. They were just looking for an excuse, and they were given one. And boy, are they running with it. It is disgusting. It is disgraceful. It is the worst kind of human behavior, but we have seen it so many times in history. We have seen it again and again and again. So I applaud all of you who are peacefully protesting. I would come and stand with you and peacefully protest. There's no doubt in my mind that a terrible injustice occurred, as there are every day terrible injustices occurring, and we should stand up and speak about it. But now the worst injustice is all of those people who are taking advantage and are destroying, willfully destroying and willfully intimidating ordinary, everyday people. So the injustice that everybody is raging against has now become 1,000 times worse, because now 1,000 times injustices are happening, and it is disgraceful behavior. As individuals, all we can do is stand up and say our piece, as I'm saying my piece. If anybody out there wants to ask me the question, why does God allow it? Please don't do it. Don't even ask the question, because this is not God. And I have to say, this is not Trump. This is not whoever this is not Obama. This is not a politician who has done this. This is people who are being allowed to run riot. and stop pointing the finger and blaming somebody who really, uh, is in the same sort of fix as the rest of us. What do we do with the bullies and the murderers when they're en masse? What do we do with them? I know what my answer would be, but I'm not saying what I would say right here on this show, because we are trying our best to raise our level of kindness, of justice, and of peace above and beyond all of those miserable human beings who think to bring us down and to create havoc in our society. Do you have anything to say to that, Chris, before we move on?
Oh, I'm totally with you, Rosemary. It's kind of quiet right now in the chat room. Everyone's listening to what you have to say.
Well, so many people want to point the finger at God for terrible things that happen. So many people want to point the finger at the politicians. I have no affinity. Look, I'm British. I can't even vote in this country, thank goodness, because I'm out of it. But I do have my opinions, and I do have, when I see human behavior in this most disgraceful way, yes, did this start with somebody's disgraceful human behavior? Yes. That doesn't mean that we should allow everybody else to jump on the bandwagon, does it? What kind of society are we? Where is the kindness? Where is the goodness? Where is the light? Where is the love? So all of you out there who are of the light and of kindness and of gentleness, you don't have to go out there and wave the banners. Just sit at home and say your prayers, send out your good energy, because it's just as effective. But do stand up to those stupid people who point the finger and lay the blame when no blame can be laid except for all of those people who are behind the scenes organizing all of this chaos. Because don't think, and this is coming from that higher source, yes it is, don't think for 1 second that there aren't people behind the scenes paying these hooligans, these murderers, these criminals to go out there and to try to bring our society to an end. Don't think they're not being paid, because they jolly well are. So that's it. Now, moving on to better things, to nicer things. My grandson called me this morning at 8:30 to say, Mosey, will you do house party with me? See how now we're into love and kindness and gentleness, which is what we should all be doing and all be thinking of. Will you do house party with me? House Party is this great, it's like an app that you can get, and it's great because they have games, they have quizzes, they have all sorts of things going on House Party, and they've just brought out this fantastic game, and it's all about words, and they give you so many words in a circle, and you have to see how many words you can make from those words. All of you who are wordy people as I am, you've done it all before. But it's interesting to me because when I do a crossword, and if I have, for instance, what is it called, Chris, when you have a jumble of words, or you have a word and you've got to make another word of it? What is it called? I can't. You know what I mean. You know what I mean anyway, don't you?
There's the word searches or Sudoku.
No. This is doing a crossword. You've got a word and it says one thing, but if you jumble the words around, you can make it say something else. The letters say something else. I can't for the life. Come on, everybody out there, help me out. Somebody, I want to say an anagram, but I don't think that's right. But anyway, what I always do with these letters, if I've got these letters, I always put them in a circle, because I think when they're in a circle, you can see them much easier. It sort of comes to me much easier. So there's this great game on House Party that, and of course I'm going to win. Reese is 7 years old. I know many more words than he knows, but and within these words there are so many words, so many letters. Within these letters there is that one main word, because it will make a word. And as good as I am at words, I've only got the whole thing twice. Of course I let him win, of course I do sometimes, but not always. And sometimes I'll suggest words to him so he can write them in there. But boy, is it getting the brain working. It's keeping my brain active, but it's also keeping his brain active. And I think that so much of the world and so much of the discontent of the world has got to do with boredom. It's got to do with not having enough to do. And I'm amazed at how many people are bored. I'm bored at home. I'm fed up at home. What can I do? Because I am a person I'm never, ever bored. Chris, are you a person who's ever bored?
I can't ever think of a time.
No, I'm never bored. I'm never, never sitting there twiddling my things thinking, well, what do I do now? Or I'm bored, or I really need to be somewhere. And I don't even get bored because I don't have any company. So maybe I'm just weird. What do you all think out there? Am I weird? Are we getting anyone actually making any comments today or any questions coming forward? The thing is, before you do that, Chris, I did get on house party at 8:30 this morning with my grandson, and I'm just getting all set up and ready to go. And I said to him, I can give you half an hour. We can do this until sort of 9:15, 9:30, but then I have to get ready because I've got my show this morning. So I'm all ready. I'm all set up, and he says to me, "I'm just going to have my breakfast first." No, that was that. So we shall play later. Chris, do we have anybody, any questions, any comments, anything going on at all out there?
So no questions yet. So I would advise people to start sending them in.
Yeah, because if you don't ask me questions, I'm going to quit. I'm going to stop the show. That will be it. I'll be done. So.
You do have some folks trying to answer your question about the letters and what that is called. So we have Wordscape.
No.
We have Word Scramble. Yeah. We have a couple of people saying anagram.
It's an anagram. I got it. Thank you, everybody. But it came to me. It was in my head all the time I was talking, but I was questioning myself. But I love anagrams. I'll tell you another funny thing about crosswords. It's a true story. You'll get an insight into how really weird I can really be. When I was in England, we used to do crosswords all the time, my group and I. And so often, so many of my friends would come with me when we would do sort of, I don't know, stage performances. We'd go into halls, we'd go into schools, I'd be standing up there on the stage, and then afterwards we'd all go for a drink and a meal and what have you, and we'd come home. But because I'd been working all the time, my head was still buzzing, still going round and round and round. And one of the things we all used to do is we'd all go back to my house, pile on the bed. There might be 4 or 5 of us, or there might be 2 or 3 of us. It would depend. And we'd all pile on the bed, and somebody would have the crosswords, and they'd read out the crosswords. And I used to be really, really good at crosswords, and I used to really, sort of get them. But the sleepier I got, the more tired I got, the quicker the words would come into my head. And somebody would read out a word. It would be an anagram. And if I was wide awake, I'd have to think about it. I might have to write the letters down and so on. I'd really have to think about it. But if I was just half asleep, lying in bed half asleep, out it would come. True story. Every time, the more tired I used to get, the quicker I was at the anagrams. And I do really love anagrams, only because I'm just really good at them, especially when I'm half asleep. All right, that's me done. So let's have some questions or some comments, Chris.
Sure. Sunshine Moon is on.
Hi, Sunshine.
She says, hello. My mom does not like anything around her neck, and so do I. Is it something we carry generation to generation?
I don't think so necessarily, but I do get what you mean, because I struggle with, I love, in England we call them polo necks. What do you call them here in America? Crew necks, I think. Those things that sort of come up here or up here, they're tight around your neck. I feel like I'm suffocating. Oops, did you hear that, Chris? Thunder, that's thunder. So yeah, so I feel as if, so I'm with you on that score. However, I do have to tell you that wrap gold around me and I'm happy. So it's like, so you know, sort of anything that's it's sort of too tight, like a sweater, it makes me feel as if I feel it makes me feel claustrophobic. Another weird thing that I'm going to tell you about. Why am I telling you weird things about me today? I have no idea. When I'm making pastry, or if I've got my hands in a dough or something, if I get my nails, of course, as everybody does, they get all stuck up with dough and stuff. I've got to get it out of my nails as quickly as I possibly can, because again I get that feeling of real claustrophobia. I just think, I've got to get the gunge out of my nails. All right, weird. Yes, weird. Anagrams, half asleep. Can't stand anything in my nails. And yeah, so I'm with you, Sunshine, on that. But I have to say, gold, pile it on. I'm good with that. Let's go to the next question or comment, Chris.
Sharon,
Come on,
Sharon
baby.
says, who doesn't like gold?
I know. No. Here's my boy. He heard the thunder, so he's come to sit with Mama. Yeah.
All right. Cheryl is on.
Hi, Cheryl.
She says, I keep seeing a certain set of 3 numbers over and over every day. Do they have any meaning?
It may well be that they do, darling. You've not told us what the numbers are, and I'm not, not a numerologist, but certainly you need to pay attention. If you keep seeing these numbers, yes, just pay attention and, if you're meant to know what it means, it'll come to you. Yeah, I mean, we all have intuition. We all have those extra senses and our sensitivity. Sometimes we can be very, very sensitive at one point to things that are being given to us from the universe, and at other times we can be completely insensitive and not see anything going on. So pay attention and pay attention to your sensitivity in that area. So and you should find out what in fact, if anything, that does mean.
She said 371 are the numbers.
That makes no difference. I always, that's it, that's 11, that's 1 and 1 is 2, so you got the number 2 right in there. I know it's weird. So 7 and 3 is 10 and 11, and I always add the numbers together. But I don't know, darling, it might mean something to you. Maybe you should try the lottery. I don't know.
All right, Sunshine Moon asks,
yes,
when we get to heaven, can we talk to our animals, or do they continue to bark, meow, blub, blub?
Who was this?
I don't know what animal says blub, blub.
Sunshine? Well, here's the deal. I do talk to my animals, and they do talk to me. If you listen very carefully to your animals, they will tell you things. They will talk to you. My lovely Cachorro talks to me. He tells me, if he's he's talking to me now, he's not a happy camper. He does not like thunder. But will we understand them better, I think is what you're asking. And I think the answer to that is yes, you will understand them better. Let's go with that. Yes. But will they actually spit words at us? No, don't think so.
All right, Marlene is on.
Morning, Marlene.
She said, I worked in home health a few years ago, and I would have to do crosswords every morning with my 96-year-old client, Pop. He was so sharp, he beat me all the time.
Ooh, lovely. I like that.
Dean is on.
Hi, Dean.
He has a question.
Okay.
Does Gray Eagle take any others under his wing, such as mediums or normal people, etc.?
Are you implying, Dean, that I'm not normal? You're right, I'm not. I'm the first person to admit it. The answer is no. I'm just because it might have changed. You never know. He's absolute no. No, it's just me and him, or him and me. The poor guy has to put up with me the whole time. How awful for him. Yeah, keep going, Chris.
Adrian
Good
has
morning,
a comment.
Adrian.
I always see the time 1, 2, 3, 4 on the clock every time I look at the clock.
Well, thank you for sharing. I don't know what it means, my lovely. It's no good you expecting that I'm going to know numerology because I'm not. So, you know, but that's interesting, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. How do you see that? Never mind. I don't really want to know. Just if you were here having tea with me or something, I'd say, so explain it to me. But you're not, so I'm not going to. So, Chris, moving on.
Sharon has a question.
Yes.
With all the unrest and illness going on, are our loved ones in spirit staying closer to us?
Oh, that's a good question. I like that question. And yes, I think the answer is absolutely yes. Not for everyone, but certainly, for instance, my daughter lives in New York with her son. They just put a curfew on for 8 o'clock at night. Isn't it awful that we have to have that? But anyway, they just put a curfew on at 8 o'clock at night time. And of course, as a mother, you know, I'm saying to her, don't go out anywhere, just stay where you are, stay in, etc., etc. You know, and just, you know, stay in the areas that you hope that are going to be safe. Although a friend of hers did go into a store a couple of days ago to help. The store had been vandalized, and while she was in there, the vandals came back and smashed whatever they hadn't smashed before, and she had to hide. She was terrified. She had to hide. She didn't do anything to anybody. She didn't kill anybody. She's not a racist. She didn't do anything. Neither did the people in there who were helping to clean up. But Samantha said it was really frightening, and so, you know, naturally, I asked Grey Eagle, I asked my daddy, and he's always there with Samantha anyway, because he just, you know, she's the special child. Yes, so they do draw close to us, and they do try to help and guide us so that we can stay protected.
Cheryl asks,
yes,
Cheryl. What are child prodigies? I've seen some who convinced me of reincarnation. Angelina Jordan, for one. So many people call them old souls.
Well, we know that, I mean, history shows us, was it, I can't remember now, Chopin or Mozart? Which one was the child prodigy? It's a hard word to say, isn't it? There have been many prodigies. There have been many children who've sat down at a piano and been able to just play. I think that it may well be that they have someone perhaps in their family, or someone who sees them as receptive, who is able to somehow influence them. You know, energy is everything, and certainly I think that they are given this incredible gift, and they are influenced by this astounding energy, and in different ways. You see people, some are gifted musicians, some are gifted I don't know, artists. There are lots of ways that children can be gifted, but definitely those who are truly gifted have definite influence beyond this earth of ours. That's what I believe anyway. Yeah.
That's all the questions.
You know, we're getting some questions today that I've not heard of before, which is quite interesting. So you very rarely get questions that you know, that I very rarely get people ask me a question I haven't heard before at some point. But we are getting a few questions today that I haven't heard before. I haven't heard voice before, so that's always good. So I'm going to assume then that if you're not asking me questions, then that we're all done. Is that right, Chris?
Well, we had someone just ask a question after that comment.
I did see something pop up.
So Adrian asks, whenever you are out and about or sleeping, do you get bothered by spirit, or do they know the right time to come through?
Well, Adrian, I've never been bothered by them. it's part of my life. I expect to see people in the spirit world. I think I did mention this the other day. I can't remember which show I was on. Sorry, I'm going to just wriggle, get my back straight a little bit. You know, so often people ask this question, you know, what's it like? You know, do they know when to bother you? Do they know when not to come around? And what's it like having people popping up in your life all the time? What's it like, you know, to see people in the spirit world all the time? And you're asking me a question that it is in some way strange to me, or that I do understand why you would ask the question. But you have to understand, it's always been the same for me. I've grown up with this. I've never had this any different. Do people in the spirit world, I think you use the term spirits, and I never used that term, but do people in the spirit world pop in and out of my life? Yes, they do. Do they sometimes come at inappropriate moments? They do sometimes, occasionally. Greg will usually sort of, you know, let's say he's the gatekeeper. He says, no, she's busy right now. So, you know, she can't come in right now. But occasionally, you know, I'll see someone and it might be an inappropriate time, but is it ever inappropriate? It's not really inappropriate. I'm willing to see people in the spirit world anytime, but they are part of my life. They are part and parcel of my everyday waking and sleeping moments. Let me ask you this question, all of you out there, which is a question I've asked many times to many people. So, what is it like for you? What is it like for all of you? Chris, what is it like for you? And all of you out there who don't see those in the spirit world, who don't have the ability to be able to talk to those in the spirit world, or to hear what they have to say to us. I can't comprehend what it must be like for you. Is it lonely? Are you sad? To me, I can't comprehend what it must be like. It must be, is it empty? Are your lives empty with this inability to see, to hear? So, Chris, you want to answer that?
I wouldn't necessarily say my life is lonely, but I do know I'm quite envious of your ability to connect and to get information and to be able to help people. And I would wish some of that for myself, and I suspect that's why so many people gravitate to you, because you do have that connection and we do not. But I think we're also here to learn and grow, and I do have my moments of connection, and they're very special to me.
So, you know, so when you're all asking me what is it like, and am I bothered, and so on and so forth, well, it's life, isn't it? It's like somebody comes knocking at the door, you just settle down, you're going to have a nice read of your book, or you just want a nice nap, and a neighbor comes around and, you know, and you say, oh, come in, have a cup of tea. So are they bothering you? Not really. They're just, you know, you just didn't expect them necessarily. When I walk into a restaurant, you walk in and you'll see a table. Let's say you'll see a table of 6, and I might see a table of 8 or 10, or maybe even more. You know, I'll be at my table having a conversation with my friends. So I'm not really, even though I see many more people than you might, I'm not really involved with them necessarily. I'm not conversing with them. They're strangers to me, but I'm pleased to see them. And if somebody from the spirit world comes and taps me on the shoulder, then I'll listen, because it's just the same as if a stranger comes and taps you on the shoulder and says, hi, would you mind if I borrow your salt, or what have you, you know. So it's hard for me to explain it, but I can't understand. I can't explain it to you so that you will understand any more than I can understand what it must be like for all of you. Because if my life weren't full of all of this stuff going on, well, I can't imagine it. Actually, can't comprehend it. So this is why I say to all of you who don't see, aren't you lonely? Don't it you know, isn't it a little bit empty? You know, I don't.
Cheryl agrees. She says it's lonely.
Oh, darling, I didn't mean. I don't want you to think about. I don't want you to be lonely. You just to remember that they are there, even if you can't see them. That they are there for you and with you. All right. I keep seeing comments and questions and things coming up, Chris. So over to you again.
All right. Mary says, my father was talking to me in my dream last night, and I don't recall his message.
Oh, don't
Would
you hate
you?
that?
Would you or Gray Eagle know what his message could be, or would Gray Eagle have any advice for me?
Listen more carefully. Here is the advice, and sorry, I'm sort of taken over from Grey Eagle now, but I know exactly what he's going to tell me to tell you. So anyway, here it is. When you go to bed, because very often in our sleep state, in that nice sort of half awake, half asleep state, that very often our loved ones come to us, and we can hear them, talk to them, see them, and we can have a really nice visit. When we first open our eyes, we can often, this happens to most of us, we can actually remember the dream, or can remember a piece of it, because it's not really a dream, it's real. So we can remember a little piece of it here or there. If you keep a pad and a pen next to you on your bedside table, the moment you open your eyes, reach for that pad and pen and write down what you remember, even if it's only little bits of things, because then as you look at these pieces of information that you've written down, as you look at them and you think about them, then eventually you'll learn that more will come to you. So that would be my advice. Always be prepared. Chris, yes.
Elizabeth has a question.
Hi, Elizabeth.
I'd like to ask Gray Eagle if in the spirit world my beloved dogs are next to my relatives, in particular my dachshund Cleto. Thank you.
I love this question, Elizabeth. How lovely that you have these lovely puppies that you're worried about. Please don't worry about them. I can assure you that they're safe and well. You know, I've seen so many times, I've seen animals with people. I actually, it's so odd that you should mention, did she mention a dachshund, or
yes,
as we say in England, a dachshund? And it's so funny because it was either last week or the week before, I was talking to someone, giving someone a consultation, and there was this little, gorgeous, little, sort of fairly longish but very roly-poly dachshund, sort of wriggling away and excited because he too had come with his family in the spirit world to say hi to everybody. So I know that your puppies are safe. I know that they're well. I know that they're being taken care of. And Grey Eagle is saying, yes, there is one particular relative who takes care of these puppies. So there's more than one that you've lost. And don't worry, my darling, because when it's your turn to go, I can guarantee you they'll be waiting for you. Let's have a next. I love that question. Let's have our next question. As I hope my puppies, I know my puppies will be waiting for me, because they often visit me, and in fact just caught a glimpse of Nino around the place. I don't see Nino very often, but I've seen him over the last few months. I've seen him more than I've ever seen him since he passed. I know why he's here. I know why he's making his presence felt, because my darling little Cachorro is 14 years old next month, and I know that Nino's going to be around to come and help him when it's his time, which is not going to be yet. I'm absolutely convinced. I'm keeping him for a while yet. But anyway, go ahead, Chris.
Marlene has a question.
Yes.
I've always wondered about the candelabra and the angel behind you. Do they have a special story behind them?
The candelabra, that's a menorah, and I have two of them. A menorah is has Jewish connotations, so many candles and so on and so forth. And I just found them in an antique shop. Oh, so many years ago, I can't remember now. And even though I'm not Jewish, I absolutely love them. I know a little bit about the Jewish faith because I'm sort of very curious about different religions and different religious belief systems. But I have to tell you, when they've got candles in them, which they don't have right now, when they have candles in them, they look fantastic. I just like them. So no particular meaning other than I really like them. So I bought them, as I say, in an antique shop. And then the angel behind me is bronze, and I have a few bronzes in the house. So I like bronzes, and no particular reason. I just saw it and liked it. You know how sometimes you're drawn to something, and I saw it and I liked it, and that's the end of that. Chris, thank you for asking though, Marlene. So keep going.
There's a little conversation between a couple of folks saying that you have a candelabra versus a menorah, because a menorah has, let me see where it goes, 8 branches and a middle branch for a total of 9.
Well, there's 7. Well, then you're right, and I'm wrong, and there we have it. But I've always considered it to be a menorah. And actually, you're actually right, because usually they have, but there might be pieces missing. As I've said, I bought them both as a pair. I don't care anyway. I like them. So I've always thought of them as menorahs or similar. So there you have it. So I'll bow to greater knowledge than my own. Yep, keep going.
All right. There's a couple of answers to your question of how we feel not having the ability as you do. And so Adrian says, I wish I could, but I'd be a little nervous. I would love to talk to my loved ones that have passed. Jay Evans says, yes, it feels lonely at times because I know that they're there but can't connect.
But you can if you try. If you give them 10 minutes of every day and just sit with them and not ask them any questions, but just listen, you know. I always tell people that I'm that person who goes around breaking windows, because I always sort of envision those in the spirit world very much like they're standing on one side of a glass window and they're trying to connect with us and they're trying to communicate with us, but we don't see. So, because we don't see, we presume therefore that they're not there, or they're, that they're someplace that we can't reach. So I like to think of myself somewhat as a vandal. I go around breaking windows and make that connection and help people to understand that, yeah, you can actually listen, you can actually hear. It takes maybe 10 minutes of every day just to be quiet, sit in a chair, be quiet, no interruptions, and don't ask any questions. Just say to your loved ones in the spirit world, I'm here for you. And, I'm spending 10 minutes with you. Just if you want to come around, that's fine. If you're too busy, that's also fine, but I'm here. Kind of like saying to your neighbor or a friend, I'm here for the next 10 minutes. If you want to come over and have a quick coffee, you can. Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. But in that time, don't fill the 10 minutes with, are you there? Give me a sign, show me who you are. Just be quiet and just listen. I can tell you that 10 minutes seems like a lifetime when you're not saying anything, right, Chris? It's like, it feels like forever and ever when you're not actually saying a word. But I promise you that if you do that, and you do that on a regular daily basis, at some point, it might take you a week, it might take you a month, it might take you a year or two, but I promise you at some point, you will hear them, or you will feel them, or you will sense them around you. Just don't ask any questions. Just be there for them. 10 minutes of every day, right? It's not a lot. Let's have our next question or comment, Chris.
So continuing on that theme, Kitty says, I know my husband's there, I miss the physical body, hand-holding, etc. Sunshine Moon says, I'm not lonely, it's how I found you. I was guided to read your books and learn.
Oh,
I'm not sure who it is.
lovely, lovely. I'm going to address Kitty's question, though. Just I'm going to address what Kitty said because this has happened to me a few times in different circumstances, but I'm going to tell you of one of those circumstances. So I'm going to tell you a little story. So one morning, I'd spent the evening before with friends of mine who'd come. We'd had whatever, we'd had dinner and so on, and there were three girlfriends, and they all stayed the night. And one of the girls was a nurse, so she didn't have to get up until a little bit later, but was worried that she might not wake up in time to go to work. The hospital that she worked at was fairly close to where I lived, so I'm lying there in bed this particular morning. In this house, it was a sort of an odd shaped house in some ways. It was very old house, and my bedroom was a big bedroom, and next to it you had to go out of my bedroom door and turn left, and there was the bathroom right there. And so, and all the other bedrooms were at the other end of the hallway. So this particular morning, I'm lying in bed, and I know that everybody's gone now because it's whatever it is. Let's say it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and I know that all my girlfriends have left. They've gone their separate ways, and the idea is, don't wake me up. Just leave when you're going to leave. So I'm lying there, and I'm thinking I really need to get up. And I look at the clock. I'm thinking, I'll just have another 5 minutes. You know how that is. I'll just have another 5 minutes, then I'll get up. And I hear footsteps coming, padding down the hallway, which was carpeted, but you could hear these footsteps quite clearly coming down the hallway. So I'm sort of thinking, oh gosh, I wonder if Claire didn't wake up in time to, to go to work. And so I turn over. Now I'm facing the door, but I'm still laid in my pillow and still not wanting to quite get up yet. But by no means in any way, please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not asleep. I'm not even sleepy. I'm just saying, oh gosh, I bet the alarm didn't go off or something for her. And the door opens, and I see a pair of legs come by. They come by the side of the bed, and I'm lying closest. My bedside is closest to the door. So I see these legs come around. She's sort of padding around, and then I feel the covers being pulled back on the other side of the bed, and I'm thinking, what the heck? And she climbs into bed with me. And it's as I feel a legs sort of pushing up against mine that I spin around to say, what do you think you're doing? Go to work. And there was nobody there. Not my imagination. Now, here's the thing. I'm psychic. Why couldn't I see that? I saw the legs go by. Why couldn't I see who it was? I didn't see who it was, but boy, oh boy, I felt them. I felt the covers go back. I felt somebody climb into bed. I felt their legs brushing against mine. And when I thought about it later, I realized that actually it wasn't a girl's legs, it was a man's legs, because they were heavier. So I got some guy in the spirit world climbing into bed with me. I ruined it by leaping up, saying, what? Because I really thought that it was Claire, and it wasn't. Who could it be? Did I ever find out? No, I've got my suspicions, but I'm not telling any of you who I thought it might be. But it definitely happened. Another time, I'll tell you another little story. Another time, I was lying in bed, and again, I'm waking up and I was laying on my right side. I find it very hard to lie on my left side because of my kidney stuff going on. So I'm laying on my right side and I'm looking at the clock, and I know that I've got to get up because I've got a consultation that morning. I've got 2 families coming in that morning, so I know that I can't hang about. But I'm thinking again to myself, just just have 5 more minutes. When I feel quite clearly, I feel an arm come around my waist, and I'm pulled into, this spooning position. You all know what that feels like, right? I'm pulled into this spooning position, and my breath catches, and I'm totally confused, and I'm thinking, I know somebody's in the bed, but I start to panic. I'm thinking, have I got a burglar or something? For a minute, I start to panic. I'm thinking, what the... And all of a sudden, I am enveloped in this incredible feeling of warmth and love, like you would not believe. And I'm pulled in tighter and closer. And I know that it's a man because he's much bigger than me, more solid than me, and his knees are under my knees, and now I hardly dare breathe because I don't want to ruin it. I don't know who it is. I cannot tell you it's someone from the spirit world. I don't know. It could be somebody who's just walked into the house and climbed into bed. All I know is that the feeling of being held in that way was just really unbelievable, remarkable, really, really overwhelming. And all I wanted to do was stay there. And at some point, the clock was, sort of ticking. At some point, I had a choice to make. I could stay where I was in this quiet, in this beautiful space, or I could get up and see to my clients. I knew that if I stayed where I was, they'd be knocking like crazy on the door, but nobody would answer. The temptation to ignore those people was huge. The temptation to ignore those people who were coming to me for an appointment to talk to their loved ones, the temptation to ignore that and to ignore my responsibility was major. I know you think I'm crazy, right? Don't you think I thought I was crazy? Of course. Is this really happening? And at some point, my sort of, I got myself together. My responsibility for the job that I do sort of won over this incredible feeling. And I remember sort of moving away and getting up and turning. And I really did expect to see someone there. I really did expect to see a body, a man, whoever, right there next to me. And I sat up and I turned to look, and I didn't see a thing. I didn't see anybody there. But boy, I know absolutely there was someone in that bed with me, holding me. That isn't the last of those experiences. There are many more, but that's all I'm telling you today. Basically, what I'm saying to you is this: even if you think that you're alone, we're not. And in times when we need confirmation, when we need affirmation, in those times, one way or another, those in the spirit world will bring it to us. I just thought you'd like to hear those stories. Yes, Chris. Any other questions, or have I stopped people from even commenting? Are you just all stunned with what I've just told you? Don't you think it's weird what I just told you? I think it's really weird.
I think we're all enraptured and a bit envious. But you have 3 more questions in the chat room.
Go for it.
All right. Cheryl asks.
Yes, Cheryl.
Is the spirit world in another dimension? Hey, I have always asked hard questions, even when I was a kid.
That's not a hard question. The answer is yes. We're sort of living in this, I don't know, how can I describe it? Let's say we're living in this parallel universe. So it's almost as if we're sort of running alongside um, at different speeds in different ways. But yes, I think it is a parallel universe. But remember that there are so many, many, many universes that are out there, and the universe and the many universes that are out there are so alien to us. We don't know anywhere near all the answers. In fact, what we know is, well, certainly what I know is like the teeniest little particle of information. Probably when it's my time to go, probably the first thing that that somebody's going to say to me is, "Well, didn't you get it wrong?" So, you know, I don't have all of the answers, everybody. As you can see, I don't have all the answers. Yeah.
All right, Adrian's asking, does your gift only run in families or can anyone connect?
Uh, my gift. Well, I know that my grandmother, my grandma Eliza, who I never met, she died when I was 6 weeks old. She used to hear voices, and she was a voluntary patient in a local psychiatric hospital called the Towers. It's in the city of Leicester. If you want to Google that, you can find it. It's a horrible place, horrible looking place. And does it? My father apparently was, although he never told me, but my mother has told me since. My father was mediumistic, which I do see with him, because I know, that he certainly knew things. Um, where I have Welsh blood and I have Scottish blood, so we're supposed to be what they call in England fey, F-A-Y, which means that we are perhaps more sensitive or more aware of things that are going on. I can't speak to my own gift. I don't know of anybody else who's got a gift quite like mine, so can't really answer that question. But I did have a grandmother who was considered to be crazy, and who had lots of different treatments because she used to hear these voices that used to scare the pants off her. Just as when I was a child, I used to hear these voices and see these things going on, and that used to scare the pants off me too. Yeah, Chris.
All right. Sharon's saying, when I dream of my late husband and there's physical contact, such as a hug, hand holding, etc., that's when I know it's a visitation rather than just a dream.
Oh, well, you're so fortunate, my darling, because so many people do not have that ability to feel or to sense in that way. There are many people who come from the spirit world to talk to us, and we don't necessarily feel them physically, but I do understand what you're saying. It makes it more real, doesn't it? I can remember once I was in bed, and I'd been awake for a long while, and I was reading or some, I don't remember what, some such, but I felt somebody sit on the bed, and I looked up, and it was my daddy was sitting on the bed, and I sat up, and he put his arms around me, and he always wore, he was an army man, so whenever I think of my father, I always think of an army uniform, a khaki uniform. But on this particular occasion, he was wearing a rough tweed coat, and when I first saw him, it didn't occur to me, but when he was holding me, I'd got my head on his shoulder, and I was crying, and he was telling me he was sorry for all the stuff that went on and different things, and we were having this conversation, and it suddenly occurred to me that my face was rough on this really rough tweed jacket that he used to wear, and it was his pride. This tweed jacket was his pride and joy, because my husband of all those years ago, I had given it to him, or I'd given it to him, because it was no longer fit my husband, and he wore that tweed jacket anywhere and everywhere he possibly could, and that made it more real to me, because had it been something in my imagination, it certainly would, I would have definitely seen him in his army uniform, because that's how I knew him. But those in the spirit world, they come to us and they show us things, or they give us little clues as to the fact that what you're experiencing is really, really real. Yes.
Jay Evans says, thank you so much. Your story is exciting.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm waiting for exciting stories from everybody else. How are we doing, Chris? Any more, or are we quitting?
You've got two more questions, and I know you're at time right now. So, Sheila from Australia wants to know your thoughts on soulmates.
Hi, Sheila from Australia. Well, I'm going to tell you, you really need to read the book Soul Signs. Soul Signs, first of all, describes all of the different types of soul energy. It describes which types of energy you can work out who you are. Once you figure out this book, it will be your Bible. It explains how people have different character traits, how different energies clash, and how other different energies are compatible. It's one of the best books that I've ever read. And I had to laugh the other day because we were talking about it on a show the other day, and somebody wrote in to say, can you give me the name of the author of Soul Signs? And it happens to be me. So it's not only the best book I've ever read, it's also one of the best books I've ever written, and it talks about soulmates. So there are soulmates, workmates, and something else, playmates. It explains it all in this book. However, before you rush out and buy the book, and if you want to know where to get it, please email me, rosemary@rosemaryaltair.com, because we've got a ton of them here. We can send them to you, or we will send you the name of the publisher where you can find the book. It was originally published in hardcover, but I've republished it, and now it's got sort of blank pages in between every now and again in the book, so that you can make your own notes and create your own ideas of things. So anyway, so if you want to know more about that, email me, rosemary@rosemaryaltair.com. There is the golden key to this book. Now look, please pay attention. First, when you're reading through it, discover your soul group. There are 5 of them, one of which we're not even going to go there with, because that connects with the dark soul. I know none of you out here listening are dark souls. So we've got fire, air, earth, and water. Some of you are thinking now, but that's astrology. Well, it's all connected, isn't it? We're all, sort of all connected in a way, but it is not astrology. It's a whole different way of looking at how a soul is created, the type of energy that is used to create each individual soul. So first, find your soul group. There are 13 soul types. First, find your group. Then you will only have 3 soul types to choose from in each group. If you try and read them all and think, oh, that's me, you'll go, that's me, oh, but that's me, and then that's me. Soul group first, then you'll only have a choice of 3 soul types. You'll eliminate one immediately. The other 2, then you work on a little bit. You'll soon come to the conclusion of what exactly you are. Right, Chris? Don't we love this book?
It's one of my favorites.
And it will tell you all about your soulmate, my darling. I promise you. Tell you. It'll give you real examples of the type of person that you're looking for, the kind of compatibility that you're looking for. You can have 2 people who can be just great with each other, but if their energy is not compatible, it will not work. It just will not. So if you put an earth sign with a fire sign, ooh, you're going to get clashes. And again, this is not astrology, so don't go thinking I'm talking astrology here. Please, please, please. So the book is called Soul Signs, and email me, rosemary@rosemaryaltair.com. We'll let you know all about it, where you can find it and everything.
All right, last question is from Dean. Do you ever talk to your grandmother who had the same gift as you?
Do you know, Dean, that's a really good question. I've never, ever, as far as I am aware, because I've never seen a photograph of her. So as far as I am aware, I've never seen her. I've never heard from her. I don't know what she looks like. So isn't that the weirdest thing? I've never been able to connect with my grandmother. I'm not sure that I've particularly tried to connect. I suppose if I asked Gregor, we might have a go at it, but I just, I feel if people want to come around, they will, and if they prefer, maybe they don't want to go into it. Maybe they've had a tough life. Maybe she's moved on somewhere else. Who knows? I just want her to, wherever she is, I just want her to have peace and happiness, and to find that peace and happiness within herself. I know we've got another question or comment, Chris, because I saw it popping up.
Sheila from Australia saying thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, all right then. So first of all, again, there's another question popped up right there, Chris. First of all, I'm going to say thank you to Chris, because you were brilliant. You did a good job. If you want to know any more, if you want to be on my mailing list, or if you want healing, or if you want to know more about consultations, whatever it is that you want to know about, please, or the books, or whatever, the meditation tapes, there are 2 that are out at the moment that you can find on Amazon or iTunes or something like that. One is called A Journey Towards Healing, and the other one is called A Garden of Souls. You can find those. Another one's coming out next week. So if you need to know more about those, or you're having a struggle to find them, again, email me, rosemary@rosemaryantaltair.com. I would like to say thank you to all of you for joining me. We've had some great questions, I have to say. I hope you liked some of my stories. If you want to know more stories, of course, you can find them in The Eagle and the Rose and the many other books. I also have a new book out this year, which is called A Walk in the Clouds. Again, you can find them. Email me and we'll tell you where to find them all. What else? So that's it for now. So thank you all of you. I shall see you on Saturday morning, some of you, for our story time. Who knows what story I'm going to tell this week? I don't know. We'll have to think of one, a spooky one, or an inspiring one, or maybe spooky and inspiring. Who knows, right, Chris? Who knows what we're going to find in our story time Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's the same time as we did this morning. We've got storms are brewing. We've got thunder. We've got rain. We've got the skies are opening. The heavens are calling to us today. So thank you for joining us. Hopefully I shall see you all again next week. In the meantime, if you want to know more about us, again, rosemary@rosemaryantaltair.com. Have a very, very wonderful and blessed rest of the week, everybody, and have a really wonderful and a really blessed weekend. Thank you, Chris. Thank you to Grey Eagle Cachorros. He's deaf. He's not hearing the thunder right now, which is a good thing.
And don't forget to share.
Oh, and don't forget, share. Please share. Share this with everybody you know. So I always forget to say this. We are behind a little bit, by the way, and we haven't forgotten the competition, but we are behind because Michelle has been really, really busy and we haven't gotten to do the competition. But do not worry, because we're sorting it out. I haven't forgotten, and quite a few of you are going to get some prizes. So have a very, very wonderful, very blessed rest of the day, everyone, and have a wonderful weekend, and I shall see you all again, hopefully Saturday, and if not, maybe next week. Bye. And I got to excuse my finger. There we go.